Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and I'm starting a new project now, or actually I'm rethinking one of my earlier projects. A couple of months ago, I think, I made a video how I'm involved in a new smart home setup using TapHome and PLCs, and then a couple of weeks later I did another video on how I can integrate Zigbee devices that are in SmartThings, and I use the SmartThings API in order to sync statuses between TapHome and SmartThings, and it was working fine. There was nothing wrong with that, but it still, uses cloud functionality. So if there is no internet connection, or, well, I wouldn't think that anything would happen with SmartThings, but anything can happen, then that's not going to work. So I was thinking that maybe I should do something local, and then I was thinking that at my home, I already use Zigbee to MQTT, and that's working fine. Zigbee to MQTT knows all the devices, and I also find out that TapHome can also, talk to MQTT. So, why would I use a cloud solution? I can just, do everything locally. I could use the same route as what I have home with. I have a micro PC and it has like a Zigbee dongle plugged into it. But then a couple of months ago, Dusun contacted me, and they asked me if I want to review any of their products, and I turned the offer down because I had no project in mind. But then I realized that they have these IoT gateways, which you can think about them as like specific hardwares, similar to how you would use a single board computer like a Raspberry Pi or a Banana Pi or something similar. But then it is, more specifically built to this IoT stuff and some sort of gateway functionality. So this particular one has, it says Home Assistant Gateway. It has Home Assistant pre-installed on it, which I'm going to talk about that. But I'm not so interested about Home Assistant, but the fact that it has all the radios built into it. So this is a device which contains a single board computer, it contains the memory, it runs Linux just like Raspberry Pi does, but then it also has all the Zigbee built in. Actually, this particular model has Zigbee and Z-Wave built in it as well, but I'm not going to use the Z-Wave stuff. So I'm just literally want to use this to install an MQTT server and Zigbee to MQTT, so it can handle all the local Zigbee traffic, and then I can easily integrate that into, well, in my case it's TapHome, but you can do it in Home Assistant or any other system. And I like the fact that it is professionally designed for this specific purpose. It's not like a Raspberry Pi with a case which has a Zigbee dongle sticking out of the USB port. As we are going to see it later on, it's pretty much the same price as well, or I think it's around the same price. And what I want to do in this video is just quickly go through this product, or the range of this product, because there are several versions available from this one, and then once I install the application on it, I will follow that up in a future video. I don't think I expect that to be very complicated, but I need to play around with that. And as I said, it's a small single board computer which runs Linux. This one happens to run Debian, which is same as Raspberry Pi. So anything that I learned in Raspberry Pi, how to install stuff in, it's applicable here as well. So that's great. And as I said, this particular model that they send me, it also has the Home Assistant pre-installed on it. So I'm just going to leave it there. But if you would buy this for a Home Assistant, then basically you just have to finish the installation process or the setup process, and you will have a Home Assistant box which runs your home automation, and it also has the Zigbee without any additional hardware. So everything is plugged in, it has network, so you can just professionally install it and you are ready to go. Before we go any further, let me just give you an overview, and I just brought up the the page from Dusun. And oh, by the way, if you go into that product page, then you can see that they have so many different things that are designed for a specific hardware or protocol, like Zigbee, Z-Wave, Bluetooth, BLE, I don't even know some of these, or Matter, or LoRaWAN, or Modbus. And then they also have things that are in for specific application. Well, I already mentioned Home Assistant, but I mean, you know, this is a Linux computer, so anything can be installed on that. And they provide a lot of documentation for all of these different cases. If I go back to, okay, I'm missing that part of the screen. Let me just go full screen. So in the product here, you can see that they have the different wireless modules, they have different system on chips, and yeah, so everything is nice. There's a lot of different options here that you can choose from. And we are going to look at this specific model that I bought. And well, I'm not going to take this apart, but we are going to see some exploded photos, and you can see all the things here. I don't want to go into the details because I think I will go into some of these details a little bit later on as well. And you can see that there are quite a few different models, and there are models which are actually based on the Raspberry Pi as well. And there are some things that are routers. So I'm going to focus on this Zigbee Gateway hub, which is the DSGW-210. And as you can see on the next page, so this is again the DSGW-210, and it uses this system on chip. So this is the CPU, or the CPU of the machine, and it's a ROC chip. It is a different manufacturer to the CPU, which is used by Raspberry Pi, but it's sort of like the similar performance as the Raspberry Pi. And you can see the various protocols that are supported, and these are available in the various variants of the machine. Yeah, you can see that it's a Cortex A33 CPUs running at 1.5 gigahertz, and then you can see here the different variants. So I actually have this 210-F18 version, which has Zigbee and Z-Wave. But as you can see, you can purchase different versions as well. So the one uses these different protocols, and the 13, well, for example, the one and the 13 has Wi-Fi as well. Mine only has cable connection, but the way I want to install it, I anyway prefer to plug it into a network connection. So I'm quite happy with that. I don't need the Wi-Fi. But for example, you can see that in this model, you even have a lithium battery built in. So that would give you, power backup if the power goes away. So that again could be a very interesting feature if you want to use it in an environment where, power outs are possible. And I think for the Raspberry Pi, there are some, hats available. But again, here you have everything built in. And so these are the standard configurations, and you have the other configurations which are built to order. And you can see that there's a lot more varieties, and then there are a lot more things that are supported for LTE communication. So if you don't have Wi-Fi, so cellular coverage, and some of them has Bluetooth, and then more models have lithium battery than the ones above. And if you really want to go, absolutely specific, then you can have these different models which have a bigger lead time, but also they have minimum order quantity. And here you can see you can go different, more options here. For example, you have LTE and GPS as well. And by the way, the Dusun, they are primarily for B2B businesses, but later on we are going to say that they have a shop as well. So the most common models you can just buy, you can do one-off. So if you rather have this instead of Raspberry Pi with all the USB dongles as well, you can just buy, you can buy this exact model that I have here. And if you are interested in the block diagram, you can see the various modules, how it all fits together. And of course, it shows everything. Well, I don't have the lithium battery and the power management and the Wi-Fi module, but then you can see that it uses an eMMC storage and the various protocols. And that's how it looks like. But we are going to see that later on anyway. And you can also see the different system that they support, the various memory configuration that you can get. And by the way, here in the configuration, you can also see the various numbers mean what is the RAM and the eMMC size that you get with the model. So everything is built in. It's everything is installed. You just plug it in and it's ready to go. And obviously you're not only getting the hardware, but there is like a tons of documentation you get these with these devices. So there is, you know, a programming guide, and there are a lot of application documents related to how you set up Zigbee, how you can set up a, you know, Zigbee to MQTT, Z-Wave to MQTT, open thread, install different operating systems on it. And here on this page, which is specific to the F18, again, I just want to scroll through some of the documents that you can see, you know, Zigbee code samples and, you know, Python development guide. You can obviously download all the different images and different operating systems you have, you know, if you want to install Ubuntu, and then how you install third-party softwares. So I think some of them are fairly easy, like, well, okay, maybe it's easy for me because I have done Node-RED, but if you haven't done, you know, Docker before, or BLE to MQTT, or as I said, Zigbee to MQTT, Z-Wave to MQTT, open thread, so everything is here. So there is like a whole host of, you know, documentation here. And I was told that they are working on creating a new wiki. So most of these documents are going to be moved to a new wiki, and also some of them are going to be a GitHub. So there is going to be a whole host of new documents which are going to be available later this month. And of course, they also have like a forum type community as well. So if you really get stuck, you can ask there as well. But the other reason I was also confident that I can, you know, try using this hardware, because as I said, it has Debian installed on it. Well, Raspbian is also based on Debian. It's actually my server, which is like a micro PC, that's also using Debian. So even though I'm really novice on Linux, I was able to get that server up and running because it is pretty much the same as what the Raspberry Pi was. So I got used to, you know, some of the Linux basics, and it worked on my PC, and most probably it's going to work on this one as well, because again, it's using the same Debian. I already mentioned a couple of points why you would choose this product over a Raspberry Pi. They also elaborated a couple of things, or, you know, a couple of points from their own why it would be a, you know, better option than a Raspberry Pi. Actually, I'm not really up to date how much Raspberry Pi cost. I know that the price has gone up a lot, especially when, you know, the chip shortage started, but I think it's going back now. But also think about, like, you know, how much you would normally, you know, pay for a Raspberry Pi, also pay for a power supply. You also need to buy an SD card, and then some sort of Zigbee dongle, only if you want to use it as a, you know, a computer with a, you know, Zigbee interface. And then you get pretty much everything here. We are going to see in the unboxing that it comes with a power supply, and it has the memory built in. So you're really just buying this and then you are ready to go. But as you can see here, they mentioned that this Rockchip CPU is equivalent to the Raspberry Pi 3, which I understand is not the latest Raspberry Pi, because we had 4 and then now the 5 came out as well. But to be honest, I was also using a Raspberry Pi 3B as my you know, server before. Well, it was not running Home Assistant, but it was running Node-RED, and it was running Zigbee to MQTT, and, you know, it was just doing it fine. I don't really think that it, you know, needed a lot more power to run this simple home automation setup. And of course, as I mentioned, you know, the Zigbee and the Z-Wave is built into it. And if you buy the different models where each has Bluetooth or LoRaWAN, then okay, those hardwares are going to be built in as well. And I specifically don't mind the Wi-Fi version, but I don't mind that it doesn't have Wi-Fi. But again, there are versions here from this one which does have Wi-Fi as well. And on top of the base memory that you can put, the base memory which is installed in this device, you can put additional TF card for storage if you need that. Again, I'm not going to use it because the basic storage is going to be it's enough for me. I'm not going to use it to store database or data on this one. And I already mentioned the 500 milliamp hour or the lithium battery. Well, this is something that I did not do on my Raspberry Pi, and probably touch wood, I was happy that it was, running for 5 years, and obviously on those 5 years I got power outages, and my Linux was never corrupted, so my Raspberry Pi was always able to recover from this. But again, you should not really leave your server just basically on the mains power, and then if the mains power goes, then it just dies, because that's not good for any operating system. And this page, I think it's this page, also has some diagrams, so you can see how the whole unit looks like. And I'm going to walk through the device, so we are going to see the connectors and plugs, everything. But you can see that it is like a single board computer, and everything is integrated to it. It has all the radios, based on the versions that you order. Some of them might not be populated. And probably the only other thing which you have to take into account, that this is really designed to be a headless unit, so it doesn't have any screen output. And the only other thing it has a bunch of LEDs, so it can blink to indicate various statuses. But again, that's more than enough for me. I don't want to use it with a screen anyway. So less hardware, which I'm not going to use anyway. Okay, let's do the usual unboxing and walking around the actual device. So I'm just going to move this aside for a bit, and then let's look at the actual unit. And it's a nice rectangular, simple, basic design, and everything is on one side. So there is nothing really here, nothing on the top. Well, you have the ring LEDs here, but nothing here, and there's nothing on the back. So all the connections are here. So you can see that we have a reset button, we have a button which is actually a programmable button, and resetting the device and that sort of stuff. And you have a tray here which accepts a SIM card for the LTE version, and the SD card for extra storage. You have a network jack, you have a USB, and then you have USB-C input for power, and that's it. And for a headless unit which has all the hardware built in, you only really need a power connection and network, and these are the only two that I'm going to use. So let's go over to the actual box. Well, I'm not going to do the unboxing. Well, okay, I've done already the unboxing, but let me show you how it looks like. So this is the tray where the machine sits on. And if you remove that and then put it out of the way, then you have another box at the bottom of the case, and this opens like that, and we have a few additional goodies. We have a spacer and these things. So we have basically a power cord to USB-C. So USB-A to USB-C, so this is what you would use to power the device. We have also a decent 5-volt 3-amp power supply, so I'm definitely going to use that. And actually, I'm quite happy that it comes with a power supply, because even for Raspberry Pis, I always buy a decent power supply. I mean, after all, this is going to run 24/7, and I think this should really be reliable. So this feels like not a cheap power supply. It has a decent weight to it. And we have a network cable, and we have a couple of things. So we have these screws, and we have this pokey device, which is for the reset button. And we have a very quick manual which only talks about the things that come in the box, and then the wiring connection. Yep, and it shows what the various lights are going to be, whether it's upgrading or starting up or things like that. And FCC statement, QR code for the website, for the documents, and that's it. And this one I really like as well. So there is a sort of, it's not a stand. Okay, it's a mounting bracket, and I think this slides on like this. Oh, of course, there is a groove here. Ah, so neat. So you can mount it on a wall, and it's not going to slide around, and then you still have this tab, and then you can just easily slide it off. So I'm definitely going to use this. I mean, that again, it's a nice touch. Again, it goes to like, you know, professional installations. Again, if you're trying to, you know, provide some sort of DIY home automation services and you need a proper hub, although I know that you can buy like 3D printed parts for Raspberry Pi which are demountable, but you can easily install this in a cupboard and it's not going to slide around. So yeah, I quite like this tray. I think it's a nice touch. And that pretty much concludes the unboxing. And also I did mention that you can buy, well, maybe not all their products and not all the different variants, but most of their products online as well. And so they have their own web store, or you can, you know, order from Alibaba as well if you need higher quantities. And actually you can see there is a Home Assistant version, but it has all the Bluetooth and also the LTE as well. But then if I scroll a little bit further down, so my particular version is actually this one. So this is, you can see the 210, the Home Assistant installed, and this only has the Z-Wave and the Zigbee integration built into it, and only Ethernet connections. So that's $150, well, probably plus shipping. So you can decide whether, you know, how that compares to a Raspberry Pi setup with all the, you know, hardware and everything included. But you can see here like another version which has Wi-Fi as well, and it's pretty much the same price. I think the B is for lower memory size. And actually I haven't realized the F18 is right here. It's the same price as this one, but you can see that there is a different version here which has the Wi-Fi built in. I think this is the B class. I think that's the one which has smaller memory, but you can see like an eOcean version, but that's also Zigbee. So again, you have a lot of options here. Okay, so I'm going to hook this up, well, not for the first time, but because I wanted to try it myself off camera as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug network, and well, I already have a USB cable here, so I'm just going to use that and plug this in, and that's it. And you can see some color show here, which is you know, red circle and now fixed red light. Let me just remove this because I think it's extra reflection. And I propped this up so it doesn't reflect. So now it's blue, it's still reflecting something. And I think when it, actually I think the fixed blue means that it's connected to the network. So we should have a functioning device right now. And let me show you on my phone. So I'm scanning my home network and I found this device which actually says Home Assistant. So I think the host name is actually Home Assistant. And so that's the IP176. And if I do a port scan, then I can see that the SSH is it's enabled by default. I mean, obviously it doesn't have a screen, so the only way to connect to this machine is over SSH. And as I said, I did turn this machine on, but I didn't make any changes to it. So this is how it was delivered and how I received it. So I'm just going to use PuTTY to connect to it. And well, it doesn't have Pi, so it has root, and the default root password is root again. And yeah, you can see it's a Linux Debian system. Oh, sorry, wrong keyboard. Then you can see it has a couple of things installed on it, and some couple of folders like test and test QA, which I think was used for internal testing. But the other thing which this device does, if I go to this IP, so I'm not really sure what happened, but for some reason my browser wanted to connect to this port using HTTPS. So obviously this is not HTTPS. So again, if you just you know, call the IP of the device and port 8123, then you can see that Home Assistant is installed and the onboarding process is ready to be started here. So as I said, you don't have to do anything. You just unbox it, you put in power, and then you put in network, and you can start installing your Home Assistant. And yeah, it just makes it so easy. So I think this is where I'm going to stop with this first episode, because in the next one I should start setting up well, I only want to set up MQTT server and a Zigbee to MQTT, so it should be fairly easy to do this. I think I just need to figure out that I probably need to create myself a user, so I'm not doing everything under root. But yeah, I mean, I'm just going to, as I said, I'm just going to leave Home Assistant as it is. Actually, you can go into, I've noticed that in the, so you have Home Assistant in, if you go to basically back to root, your Home Assistant is here. So, you know, if you need the extra space, I guess it's possible to be deinstalled here. There are a couple of files here you can, that was placed here probably for testing, that you can deinstall as well or delete as well. But, you know, this should still give you, you know, as you can see, plenty of space here to do some, you know, stuff and then play around and, you know, build your own home automation, maybe a Home Assistant or maybe like a very quick and easy Node-RED, or just, you know, use the hardware built in and do a Zigbee to MQTT and a Z-Wave to MQTT. So I think that's where I'm going to stop. Well, as I said, if you're interested in this product, as always, I'm going to leave purchasing links in the video description below, and I try to also list all the different websites on the Dusun website that I showed you in this video, specifically this product and, you know, some of the documentation if you want to check that out. But that will be all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.